fortune.
Hey, this old Indian guy goes to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller says, "Would you like your palm read?" And the guy says, "Well, I think it already is."
Hi, I'm Kimberlie Acosta. Welcome to the Native News Update on Friday, July 23rd. We're here at the Native American Journalists Conference in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we have an interview with DeMain talking with Patty Loew regarding the Sequoyah Institute and the importance of the archives that they have.
Hi, I'm DeMain with IndianCountryTV.com, and we're doing interviews here in St. Paul, Minnesota at the Native American Journalists Association Conference, where we've cornered Dr. Patty Loew from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And we've asked her to talk a little bit about her experience and involvement with the Sequoyah Institute at the University of Little Rock at Arkansas. Patty, can you tell us a little bit about what you utilized that resource for and what you got out of it?
Well, you know, when I was working on my dissertation, one of the pillars of my my study was a review of Ojibwe newspapers to try to understand what was on people's minds at the turn of the century when we were losing all of our land and our sovereignty was being chopped at left and right. And the Wisconsin Historical Society has a good collection of Native newspapers, and one of the people on my committee said, you know, you really have to go talk to Dr. Dan Littlefield down at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, because they're building a Native American press archive. And so I wound up meeting Dr. Littlefield, and over the years I came to really appreciate what it means to have our newspapers archived, because you know, a lot of people write history books, and a lot of them are written by non-Indian outsiders writing our histories, but Native newspapers are one of the true unfiltered sources that we have to reconstruct our pasts. And so, you know, what Little Rock has done in the way of the American Native Press Archive is to collect these priceless documents written by our own people about events as they saw them, and make them available to researchers like me to go in and try to reconstruct events that happened that were, you know, sometimes disastrous for our people.
Some of those documents you can't find anywhere else, is my understanding. And how did you get involved with your research down there? When you went down there, what did you see? How were you greeted? How did you get involved with the archives?
Well, at that time, as I remember, Dr. Littlefield had an office, a small office, and next to his office was this an office that had just been vacated by one of his colleagues, and he had filled it with all these boxes. And you know, some of the archive that they had collected was in a section of the library, and then there were all these boxes in the room next to him, and I remember lifting up the boxes, and there was nothing in the boxes. And I'm saying, Dan, you know, what is this? And he goes, oh, well, we're just holding this space because we've got all these things that we have to, and we know we're going to get them. We know we need more space, and so I'm just kind of holding this office. And sure enough, you know, there were a lot of things that were scattered in a lot of places, but he was sort of quietly marking his territory and trying to get as much space as possible for this archive that was growing, and it really did grow. And you know, these empty boxes that I was looking at were eventually filled with all these newspapers that were stored, and other documents that were stored in various parts of the university, and at his house and at Bob Sanderson's place. And over the years, I watched as the two of them created and organized this archive that kept growing, and as soon as people started hearing that somebody actually was interested in preserving Native American newspapers and documents, the things started coming in, and native newspaper editors were sending him editions. I was looking at newspapers as they related to sovereignty and treaty rights issues, and so I was using the archive, for those purposes. And over the years, I believed in it so much that I got involved, as I know you did, with advising them on the archive, and that was really gratifying, because the more I looked at the newspaper archive and all the surrounding documents and the biobibliographies and the poetry and the, just all the expression of our people for the past 100, some even more than that. Cherokee Phoenix, for example, 1820s. There were so many documents, and it was such an honor and kind of humbling to be part of a group that was helping to collect all this. We didn't actually help collect it, but we were advising the people that were collecting it how they could best serve Indian country, how we could reach non-natives out there who might be interested, and explain to people why this is so important to preserve.
And your finished product was satisfactory with the assistance of the Sequoyah Institute?
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think that, it's over yet. I expect that for the rest of my academic life, I'm going to be utilizing that archive and going to conferences and meeting people that inspire me, who are as interested in Native voice and expression as I am. So for me, it's just kind of a process. It's not an end result.
Thank you for joining with us today. We'll talk to you again soon, hopefully maybe down at Little Rock, Arkansas.
Great. Miigwech, Paul. Gigawabaman.
Thank you. I'm Paul DeMain, reporting for Indian Country TV and for the Sequoyah Institute from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And that's the latest roundup of Native news. I want to thank you for joining me, and have a grand day.